All right, so we're gonna get into our top three most underrated boxers of all time. Sam, punch me in the face. What is your number three most underrated?
There's a guy that I remember seeing him fight. I think it was in the early 2000s, late 1990s. It has to be the early 2000s that I was impressed by. That not a lot of people would give him credit. Not a lot of people were mentioning him as a pound for pound fighter. And my number three fighter that, at least in my opinion, that I was really impressed with was Ronald Winky Wright, bro.
Winky Wright.
Winky
Yeah,
Wright,
talk
bro.
to me. Talk to me.
This guy beat Shane Mosley twice.
Yeah, he
He
did. I
beat,
remember watching those, man.
dude, he beat Trinidad when
He
Trinidad only
did.
had one loss to Hopkins.
Yeah.
Dude, he had a draw when Jermaine Taylor was at the height of his career. The guy had one of the best defenses ever. A lot of people didn't like him, and that's why people didn't talk about him, because he was always on defense. But
hmm
dude, his boxing skill, his IQ, the guy was very smart. He was a great boxer, and I think that they just didn't give him the credit that he deserved. Winky
hmm
Wright, in my opinion, is one of the best fighters, that were in that era,
Right.
and I got Winky Wright as my number three, man. I love his style of fighting. I respect the guy, good guy, and he's beat some good fighters, man.
He beat Mosley when everybody was afraid of him. And I remember that. I remember watching that. I remember thinking there was a time where Mosley was unbeatable. And the fact that Winky Wright just schooled him, and then after that, Mosley was never really the same. So I respect your number three, man. I'm down with that. That's
Yeah,
actually I thought about him, to be honest with you.
yeah. And one other thing, there was a fighter that he beat that was he was a good fighter. He was well respected. His name was Bronco McCart at the
Right.
time. And that's when I first noticed who Winky Wright was. And I understand, like I said earlier, the criticism over him, always in defense. But dude, it was beautiful, man. It was a work of art.
It was.
He
It
and
was. It
he's
was.
Yeah, he's my number three underrated. And what about
That's
yours? What
cool,
is your
man.
number three?
So mine is actually undefeated fighter, and it is. Hey guys, Trey here. If you love today's controversial episode and you want to see our channel grow, please drop a like, subscribe, and also comment. Sam and I are always going back and forth with those commenters on our controversial topics and opinions, and we love it so much. So go ahead and hit that like button, hit that subscribe, most importantly, so our channel can grow and we can give you guys the best content as possible. Sam and I were always uploading multiple videos a week, and we want to continue doing that, and we need your help. So go ahead and subscribe, guys. And most importantly, like I always say, don't forget to stick and move, baby. It's Joe Calzagi, or Calzagi,
Mm.
however you want to pronounce it. I'm going to go with this guy. Look, to be honest with you, all I have to say was that he was 46-0. And the reason why I think he never got the credit that a lot of people deserve, that especially going undefeated, especially now that we live in the era where going undefeated is this prestige, never been done. Everybody only thinks that Floyd Mayweather has gone undefeated. But Joe Calzaghe, he was 46-0. And I think, and he beat Roy Jones, he beat Bernard Hopkins. And yeah, they were older, but Calzaghe was the same age as they were. He just, because he was stuck in the European market. And let's be honest, when it comes to Americans, anybody that's from the European side, they tend to downgrade their value because, they came up on their undercard, on the under ranks and amateurs. I guess not the greatest talent, but still, to me, an undefeated record is an undefeated record. And he did take out two monsters. Yeah, Roy Jones was already down at the time, but still, I mean, for him to cross over and finish his career undefeated, I got to give him my number three. I got to give him
Wow,
my number.
wow, wow,
Yeah.
wow. All right,
You got
all
any
right.
thoughts on that? You got any thoughts
No,
on that?
yes, I mean, I remember watching him fight, man, and and he had a real disciplined style of boxing, dude. It was beautiful, man. I
Yeah,
mean, it was the way you teach a boxer how to fight. This guy perfected that art, man. He was all around a great fighter, man.
I agree with you, man. So Calzagi is my number three. And you know what? That's actually a good point, though. His style of fighting, considering it was that European style, there was a little bit of brute into him.
Yeah,
He
yeah,
just
yeah,
had, I mean, and he got dropped a couple of times throughout his career, but that's boxing to me. I mean, that was never a topic of conversation until about 10 years ago. Oh,
yeah.
well, has he been down? So Calzagi is my number three. What is your number two, man?
My number two is Wilfredo Benitez, bro.
Oh, I had
I
him on my list. I had him. Wait,
yeah,
he's not on my list.
he is 53 wins, 8 losses, 31 KOs, bro.
Right,
Okay,
right.
let me tell you something. This guy, Wilfredo Benitez, imagine what were you doing at 17 years old, bro?
Right, right.
Bro, what was I doing at 17 years old? I don't know. I don't even remember, bro.
Right,
I was practically still a kid. Yes, you are a
right.
kid. This dude at 17 years old captured a world title.
Yeah, yeah.
World title. This
Mhm.
guy went 15 rounds, bro. 15 rounds with
With
Sugar
Duran.
Ray Leonard, Duran, Tommy
Right,
Hearns. This guy fought in an era where those were real warriors, real dogs, real fights,
right.
and 17 years old, man.
Hmm.
And this guy, it hurts me that when people talk about that era, they'll never bring up this guy's name.
I agree.
This,
I agree.
people need to wake up and learn the history of Wilfredo Benitez, bro. The guy was considered one of the greatest lightweights of all times.
You know,
He had a
we just
great skill, man.
we just had an episode talking about the Four Kings. We ranked Floyd Mayweather, how he would have done in the 80s, right? But that era, you could have gone further. Like I said before, Benitez, right? There was Iran Barkley, there was Pepino Cuevas, and that time was such a pinnacle for boxing that I want to see again. The 90s came close with Trinidad and De La Hoya, but I'm with you, man. I mean, you and I come from Mexican descent. There is that Puerto Rican
Yeah.
rivalry with
Yes.
us
Yes.
in inside boxing and outside boxing. You ask Puerto Ricans what culture do they hate? They'll say Mexican. You ask a Mexican, what Mexican woman, what culture they hate? They'll say Puerto Rican, and so on. It goes back and forth. But if there is a if there is a silver lining, it is Benitez, 100%. So
A
I'm cool with him
hundred
being your
percent.
number two.
He
I'm cool
he's
with him being
he's
number two.
he's actually my number one Puerto Rican fighter.
I agree. I
Yeah,
agree.
he's my number one Puerto Rican fighter, man, right there.
I'm
That
down
guy
with
was
that.
just he was a savage, bro. 15 rounds, he was a savage.
I'm down with that. I
So
love that.
who's your number two, man?
So my number two is a legend that you and I have history with, like way back when you and I first started hanging out over 20 years ago. And that's Marco Antonio Barrera, man.
Wow. All right. All right. All
Look,
right.
look,
All
look,
right.
look. The guy, he never said no to a single fight, and he is forgotten. I think in the lore of great Mexican boxers, you add a top five, top 10, he's always on the high end or
He
maybe
has
10th
to,
out.
yeah. Mm-hmm.
I mean, I mean, because when you think of great Mexican fighters, of course, you think of Chavez, you think of Morales, you think of Marquez and Sanchez, but he gets lost, especially in the 2000s, early 2010s with Morales and Marquez. These guys that fought during this time, kind of like in the 80s with the Four Kings, they challenged each other. He fought Pacquiao twice. Yes, he got disqualified and stuff like that, but he was a truly heated, passionate fighter. I mean, he retired Prince Nassim Hamed, who was
Mm-hmm.
undefeated, who had all the lore. I remember he would come in his flying carpet and stuff on HBO boxing. and he just schooled him the entire fight, retired his career. His career was done. I mean, who else? I mean, he fought a
dude,
Tapia that nobody wanted to fight at the
that's
time. Remember
right.
that?
That's right. My,
Go ahead.
my first fight of Barrera was when Kennedy McKinney was saying
Right.
that you're from Mexico, you fought nothing but taxi cab drivers, and I was
Right.
like shocked, right? Because and I'm seeing this, and when he knocked out Kennedy McKinney, bro,
Mhm.
that was one of the most joyous times of my teenage years, bro. Let me tell you that,
I agree,
bro.
man. I
Mm.
remember I actually got introduced to him when he fought Kelvin Kelly.
Mm.
I remember they were trying to make Kelvin Kelly the next big guy on HBO and Showtime. And I remember when he fought Barrera, I was like, who is this guy? And he created a legacy for himself that I often think is forgotten. So he is my number two. Any
Yeah.
last thoughts? And by the way, I mean, this is a guy who also beat Rocky Juarez when nobody wanted to fight
Yeah,
Rocky
that's
Juarez.
right. That's right. That's right. No, he is one of my top 5 best Mexican fighters of all time, bro.
I agree with you.
That guy gave us so many wars with Morales, unforgettable wars.
Right.
And I
Right.
mean the fights he had with Pacquiao that broke my heart because I was a
Me
Pacquiao fan,
too.
but I
Me
mean
too.
I'm behind the Mexican all the way, and it just broke my heart. But the Nassim Hamed. I saw all those fights, and yeah, bro, he's a great number 2, and he is. He should be. He deserves more respect than
I'm
what
with
he's
you,
getting.
man.
100%.
All right. So, what is your number one? What is your jaw dropper? Tell me your number one guy.
I think this guy right here that I'm about to introduce
Uh,
is one of the
are you
most disres. Go ahead.
are you gonna melt my brain? That's all I'm
Look,
asking.
he is one of the most forgotten greats that of our time,
Oh, okay.
and
Modern.
dude, he is 51-0 and I wrote down the record here: 51-0 and 38 KOs. Ricardo Finito Lopez, bro.
Lopez, yeah. Lopez, yeah.
This guy, bro, was the Bruce Lee of boxing, bro.
I like that comparison.
He was put in the Boxing Hall of Fame as one of the greatest strawweight, light featherweight fighter of all time.
Yeah.
This guy could not be beaten. He was undefeated. This guy had a beautiful boxing style. I mean, the guy was like he fought like a Picasso, bro. It was just
Yeah.
art. It was beautiful,
Yeah. I
man.
know exactly what you're saying.
It was just a beautiful style. Everything came into timing. Everything, all the shots were thrown professionally. Nothing stupid. The guy had a 74.5 knockout ratio, bro. The guy was a beast, and he was never beaten. He fought everybody in front of him. I would have loved, you know, imagine him in today's, against Chocolatito anyway, or stuff like
Right.
that, right?
Right.
But he is one of the most forgotten, in my opinion, underrated boxers of all time. 51-0, and nobody, when they talk about undefeated, they'll talk about Mayweather and they'll talk about Marciano. Where do
Yeah.
you hear Finito Lopez? You don't.
I think it's that bantamweight, lightweight, featherweight
Mm-hmm.
section that people tend to ignore. And here's the most amazing thing. If you watch, it doesn't matter what era you watch it. You could watch it from the 1920s when the only two popular sports were boxing and baseball with Babe Ruth, right? If you watch those bantamweights and featherweights and lightweights fight each other, it's all action all the
Dude,
time.
dude.
Nothing but headhunters. So violent. And it's not getting its acclaim until now with Inouye, but I'm with you, dude. He needs more recognition, but I think it's the class that he's fighting in. So
I could be wrong. I think he had a fight where he threw like 800 punches in that fight.
yeah,
or
Yeah.
more. I'm lowballing it here. I just don't want to see something completely ridiculous.
Right.
But
Right. No.
dude, the guy was nonstop action, bro. Nonstop
Yeah.
action.
I
Knocking
agree.
everybody out, man.
Yeah. 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 Well, look, going to my number one. I had like a 1A, 1B. I'm just gonna keep my 1B quick and short, and I'll tell you my real number one
Mm-hmm.
because I think the real number one deserves his flowers. But my 1B was actually Carlos Zarate.
Oh man.
Dude, this is a guy that fought. He had 66 wins and 4 losses.
Well, he fought Benitez.
Yeah, right. I was about to get to that. That was one of his losses. Um, dude, 64 wins. And here's the face melter, bro. 63 knockouts.
Ooh,
What
Jesus.
kind of ratio are you going to get?
Dude, this is like playing Fight Night, bro. You know what I'm saying?
But I could have put him number one because, back then they fought 5, 6 plus times a year. And there were a lot of fight. He didn't get his big fight till he fought Benitez. And, he lost that fight. But, dude, going only the distance one time and victory, that blows my mind. But my real number one, and it's kind of like wah wah, is I'm gonna give it to Andre Ward, man. I gotta give it to him.
Okay.
And you know, in the 2000s, 2010s, he was never the guy. He was undefeated. I mean, I know he had that controversial fight with Kovalev, but he was undefeated. But nobody, I think the only analyst that ever talked about Andre Ward was Max Kellerman. That was it. I mean, he was a boring boxer, nothing special about him, at least for me. Yes, did he have generalship and a ring
Great
IQ?
guy
Yeah,
and a great guy and a great
yeah,
guy.
yeah, yeah. And look, he's undefeated. You got to give the undefeated guys their flowers. He was just absolved in the 2000s by De La Hoya and Bernard Hopkins and Mayweather and Pacquiao. They were all over that's what everybody was talking about. And Andre Ward was just in the background. So my number one guy is Andre Ward. Do you have any thoughts on that?
Yeah, yeah, he is underrated. He's undefeated, so you got to give him his flowers for that. He's
Right.
undefeated. The problem with Ward was he was in a division that had no superstars. You know,
Yeah.
you know what I'm saying? He had
I mean,
it. It
Carl
wasn't.
Froch,
Yeah,
Chad
yeah,
Dawson. Yeah. Yeah.
It was not the highlight of what was going on and what
Hmm.
people wanted. They wanted the big names, the big lights, Las Vegas, blah blah blah. And he had no. I mean, he beat his competition, and he was not a trash talker.
Right.
And I guess people liked, well, till this day, right? People, he was just a real respectful type of person, and he was
Right.
in a division that didn't have any star-studded, fighters, in
Let
my
me ask
opinion.
you this, because now I'm thinking about changing it, but we're too late. But you think he kind of went through the triple G syndrome where he never challenged himself by staying in that division too long?
Well,
And he
I
could have
mean,
gone down in one class and fought the big heads over there, but he just stayed where he was at. Because the way I look at it is that the guys that were below the class before him, they didn't want to fight Andre Ward. So they all stayed there too, or went a class below. They didn't want it, they wanted to avoid Andre Ward. We always wanted that Triple G versus Andre Ward. Remember that when Triple G was the
yeah.
boogeyman in the early 2010s? We never got it. And, you know, I don't know. I just think that he was a victim of like what you're saying, that he just stayed in his class too long.
Yeah, and this is another thing, in my opinion. I
Talk to me.
think that there was no money in it.
Yeah.
Like he was not going to sell the tickets. You know what I'm saying? That maybe a Pacquiao, Mayweather, Chavez, people that would carry countries behind them,
Right.
and Andre Ward. Um, it's just my opinion. I could be completely wrong. It's just my opinion. I just didn't think he carried that power to fill arenas. You know what I mean?
And here's the
And
other
they shortchanged him.
here's the other I remember watching him. And when I watch a fight, I'm zoned in. Okay, that's just the way I do it. And I remember watching him and just wandering off. Like I just took off in the middle of the fight because he had control of the fight, but it was just so.
Yeah. I was just gonna
It
say that.
wasn't exciting. It wasn't
I
exciting
was
to
just
watch.
gonna say that there was nothing special. He was
Right.
a disciplined, beautiful fighter, but there was nothing to Oh, he's a knockout power or dude. Nothing flashy. In other words,
Mhm. Right.
so yeah, I get it, man.
All right, man. So we got that is our top three. Do you have any final words?
Also like to thank the people that have subscribed and watched our YouTube and our
Mhm.
TikTok and our Instagram, and to like and share the channel, man, so we can grow and we can talk about whatever fights y'all want to talk about, from the past to what to the future or to what's happening now. So I just like to thank everybody.
Yeah, I'm with you too. This past couple of weeks has been amazing, especially on our podcast. Guys, yeah, it's meant a lot to us. And I want to shout out one commenter, Rudy Cuevas, 809. He gave a great comment about what we talked about with Canelo and Crawford. So I just want to shout him out. Him and I were going back and forth, and just keep liking, guys. Keep subscribing, and this is going to help the channel grow, and we can give you guys more. So we'll leave it at that. Like always, guys, just don't forget to stick and move, baby.
I am the greatest. I wish I was 50 years younger and I'd kick your ass.